And we are back with the fourth segment of the GSMC Basketball Podcast presented by the GSMC Sports Network. And in this fourth segment, it's not going to be a particularly long segment, and neither is the fifth segment, now that I think about it. Probably going to be rather short because we're simply only going to debate on who the best player was on each of the teams. So, this segment 4 is going to be about whether or not Shaq was the best player on the Lakers when he went on his tenure, or whether he was the best player on any of his championship teams. So when we think of Shaq, we think of dominance, right? Like, he's arguably, the dominant player on any kind of team. But does that necessarily mean that he is the best? Does that mean that he has a repertoire of moves that he can use? Now, dominance, obviously, it's like you can do, at least the way I define dominance, you can do a certain move that's going to get you where you need every single time. Like, whether it be in wrestling, whether it be in football, whether it be in basketball, you have one move that gets somebody almost every single time, and there's nothing that they can do to stop it. Now, that is dominance. Now, does that mean that you are the best player? If you are so dominant and you can get whatever you want whenever you want, does that make you the best player? In my opinion, there needs to be a lot more, context into that. What is it that they do? What is it that they're producing? What is it that they gain out of doing this as many times as they do it? And what is it that is preventing them from being considered the best, if not the most dominant? Like, so with Shaq and his championships and, his runs in the finals, the only other running mate the only other, players that could be argued that were better on the Lakers or on the Miami Heat when he won his championships were D. Wade and Kobe Bryant. Now, for Dwyane Wade, a lot of people genuinely, everyone knows that, Dwyane Wade played a lot better than Shaq in that finals. Dwyane Wade won the finals MVP in 2006 when they were on the Miami Heat. He was the best player on the Miami Heat, and he had the finals MVP to prove it, Dwyane Wade. But for the Lakers, on the other hand, the only other argument was Kobe. And Kobe did not win a single finals MVP when Shaq was on the Lakers. And Shaq saying that, I wasn't the best player on any of my championship runs, I feel it's a little disrespectful to himself, because it's like, what? And, people, they think that, Kobe was the better, some people think Kobe was the better player in the series. I'm surprised that, Shaq said that live on TV, because I genuinely think that's just untrue. Like, as much of a Kobe fan as I am, I do not think that Shaq wasn't the best player on that team. Like, I think that, in terms of, like, Shaq was clear-cut the best player and the most valuable player on the Lakers during that time. But I'm not going to say that Kobe didn't do much to help the team either. I feel like they were both responsible for winning, and they both carried a huge, either offensive load or defensive load for the team, and they did it consistently. They did it great, and they ended up getting a three-peat. So I'm not going to deny Kobe's greatness. I'm obviously not going to deny Kobe's greatness, but saying that he was the best player in when he was playing with Shaq, I just think it's not true, especially when Kobe doesn't have the finals MVPs to prove it, and Shaq is the one talking with those finals MVPs that Kobe would need to prove it. Because I understand, Shaq's offensive, and his bag, I guess, if you want to call it that, and his repertoire isn't all that impressive. He only has one move, and that's really backing people down and using his size to his advantage. But that's really all you need, and that's all that was needed in order to win. And, if you're doing what you need to do in order to win, there's nothing more that needs to be done. Like, there's nothing more that you got to do. And there's nothing more that Shaq really needed to do, because he was scoring on everybody regardless. So like, obviously, Kobe was there to help with the scoring, but Shaq was really the one that was putting the ball in the basket. And honestly, Kobe is probably the biggest argument as to why that Lakers team doesn't have more than 3 rings. Like, in 2004, when the Lakers, they made it to the finals again and they went up against the Pistons. The Pistons ended up beating that Lakers team, and that Pistons team is the only team in NBA history that does not have a player in the top 75 on that roster, and they won a championship with that roster. Now, the the Lakers, that team, it was a failed super team, obviously, and the biggest problem on that team and the biggest reason why they lost was Kobe Bryant. Kobe shot them out of the entire series. He was shooting the ball way too much. He was trying to win the finals MVP, is essentially what he was doing. And doing that ended up hurting the team. He was taking more shots than Shaq. He was also missing way more shots than Shaq. And, his shot selection was bad. His field goal shooting was bad. Everything about Kobe wasn't good in that series whatsoever. And he was arguably the biggest reason as to why they didn't win more rings. And so saying that Shaq wasn't the best player on any of his teams, I don't think that's true whatsoever. And I think he's just saying that out of respect. So I just wanted to bring that to attention because there is a similar conundrum in this final series as well between Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. And that's going to be what the 5th segment is going to be about, talking about who is the best player on the team between Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. So I will be right back. Excuse me. I'll be right back after this short break to give my opinions on that. So be sure to stay tuned.